Sebastian Martinez, MMAnytt here in Houston, Texas for UFC 192, where Joseph Benavidez faces off with Ali Bagautinov. So, Joseph, you're looking very fresh, was just pointed out by Dave Scholler. Some very fresh shoes. Also get a shot of those shoes.
Yeah, these are shoes, wild shoes. Yeah, this is more of a urban, formal look I went for. Not formal, not urban, but like a mixture of the two.
So you seem to be in good spirits, though.
For sure, always, man. This is a great life. Of course, I'm always in good spirits. Finally get to fight. The training's over, which that's the hard part. Waking up every day, doing this, working out all day, hitting your friends instead of like another person. Like I actually get to hit another person, have fun. A week after my fight, I get married to the woman of my dreams. Like I'm in heaven, man. This is great. I love life.
That's a pretty good setup, and on top of all that, you're on a free fight win streak, which is also very, very excellent. And let's talk about that a little bit. Like your last fight you beat John Moraga, who's a very high-ranked guy, for a title challenger. Looking back at that fight, what kind of both positive and negative takeaways do you have from it?
It's always nice because you're gonna learn regardless, win or lose. But it's always obviously nice to learn off a win. So there's always things you take away, not necessarily negatives. But, everything you can learn from every single fight, with Moraga. With him, it was great. Went out there, and anytime you go out there and beat a guy who's a former title contender and do it, somewhat, dominantly. I feel like I did definitely dominate the fight, won all 3 rounds. And, anytime you can go out there, you're going to grow that confidence and everything. I feel like it was one of the first fights where I'd beat people dominantly before in a decision, and it was just clearly I beat him. Like Dustin Ortiz, I clearly beat him, but it was stand-up. Like with Moraga, I feel one of the bigger positives I took away was that was the first time I'm not known as a grinder. You know what I mean? Like I go out, I beat people, maybe better than him, faster than him, higher pace. Like I felt like I grinded out Moraga. Like I put him down, and I dominated another man my size, held him there, did everything, controlled him. And I feel that was really my first fight where I went and grinded somebody out. You know what I mean? So that was a good positive that I took away. Other than that, there's always little things you're going to learn when you go in there with guys, nothing huge. You always go in there like, oh, could have done this more, distance. But every time I do that, I got to remember I'm also fighting the best guys in the world. So it's not going to be easy just to punch the guy right in the face whenever I want. Moraga was a great contender and gave me a good fight.
All right, well, you got another good fight in front of you with Dagestani Ali Bagautinov, self-proclaimed puncher king, as his nickname suggests.
That's a good one.
And what do you think of both his nickname and him as a fighter?
His nickname, I don't know. It sounds cool. I guess everyone punches and can consider themselves a kick. So, I don't know if it's like self-proclaimed or whatever, but it does sound cool. We'll give him that much. Other than that, as an opponent, I think he's great. For me, he is the toughest opponent I could fight, really outside of the champion and maybe the guy who just contended for the title, John Dotson, and those guys were booked up. So being able to fight him is great, man. That's where I see myself fighting the best. His last fight was Demetrius Johnson, so that's what people are going to compare this fight to. So I love that. Those are those little things I need to do to keep up there, like he just fought Demetrius, fight me. People are naturally, media, fans, matchmakers, going to naturally compare those fights. So, it gives me that little incentive to go out and like, oh, Demetrius beat him like this. I got to do the same thing. So it always gives you that gauge. So I really like the fight for sure. Like I said, he's one of the toughest guys out there, and it's going to be an exciting fight.
And obviously, he's got some power in his hands. He's got some pretty good wrestling and such. But sizing up your skills against his, where do you see, what area do you see yourself exploiting?
Yeah, I think I have everything there. I have power as well. I've had more knockouts than him in the division, in the UFC. And I think I'm faster with it also, where, yeah, he catches you and, I've seen him, I think, only knock out one person in the UFC. Other than that, he does throw hard, but it's more timing, I think, when it comes to knockouts, and I think I have knockout power with the timing and the speed as well. Haven't seen his wrestling a ton, in his fights. He tends to stand up and not get taken down a lot, but when he does mix it up, it doesn't look anything, that I'm in danger of. But once again, we're at the top of the game. I fought the best wrestlers, best jiu-jitsu, best strikers, so everyone's going to be good. It's just the little tiny details and stuff, and more like strategy and performance execution in there, because everyone's going to punch hard. Everyone is capable of knocking someone out if they hit them. Everyone's capable of submitting someone if you give it to them. Everyone's capable of taking someone down. So it's just the details in between that I feel I'm better at.
Surely, though, the end goal has to be, a third fight with Demetrius Johnson. But looking at the way the division is right now, he's already defeated so many of the top-ranked guys, and you've already got 2 losses to him. What do you think it would take for a trilogy?
Yeah, I mean, it would just take, what it took to get the second one, and even more to obviously get a third one, which is just wipe out the whole division, and him wipe out the whole division, and just, for me, obviously I want to fight Demetrius every time. Like, that's the only fight I want and need. That's a fight and a title that has evaded me twice, so that's the goal every time. Like, after every fight, yeah, I would love to be like, oh, I'll fight Demetrius right now, and I know I could go out every night and give a good fight, whether it's 20 times or 15 times or 3 times, but I know it also takes a lot to do that 3 times. So in the meantime, it's just controlling the things that I need to do, which is winning these fights in between, training, getting the best out of my train every day, trying to improve every day in the gym, trying to improve every day in the fight. And then I can't control that, but my performances can control maybe the way the fans think, the media thinks, the bosses think, and eventually, like, hey, that fight needs to happen. That's the only guy that can beat Demetrius, where I think people, all in all, when they do look at the whole division, I still think a lot of people, even regardless of the 2 fights, think like that maybe I have some pretty much like the only style and skill set to beat him. So I think it's just a matter of time. Obviously, the division's still growing. They got to get other guys in there. But it's kind of crazy for me because I want to fight Demetrius every time, obviously. But if I say that every time, someone's like, oh, well, well, you have a long way to go. You only beat, this and that, and there's other guys. So I'm like, okay, I'm just saying I want to fight him. But if I say I don't want to fight him, and I'm just take the higher road, and I'm kind of like, hey, I'm willing to get the fight whenever I want it. Well, you're not going to get the title shot like that. You got to be vocal about it. But then if you're vocal, people criticize you for already losing twice and not deserving it yet. So for me, it's just going out there and letting my actions speak, and then I can't control everything else anyway. So just let those, change everyone else's mind. But everyone know before they ask me, like, of course I want to fight Demetrius. Why would I not want to fight him every single time? But I also know it's a process to get back there, so I'm doing everything I can too.
And this is obviously a very high-ranked fight. You're both ranked in the top 10, but yet you're not featured on the main card. Are you a little disappointed about that?
Not disappointed, because it's a stat card. I'm never disappointed when I have a fight. I don't care where it is. My first 2 fights in the UFC, I was ranked number 2 in the world at 135 coming in through the WC, and I fought on the prelims both fights. Not prelims, but like Facebook prelims back when that was. So it doesn't bother me. You go out and do the same regardless, you know what I mean? And, whoever makes a decision, they made it for a reason. So it's whatever. But the card is stacked. And from what I understand, there's more viewers on Fox Sports 1, possibly anyway. So it doesn't bother me at all, man. I go out and do the same thing regardless. And it's just one of those things. You don't control that, but you go put out an exciting fight. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know why we didn't have him on the pay-per-view, because, my last fight was on the pay-per-view. I think my fight before that was the featured prelim on Fox Sports 1. So both are good spots for me.
All right, and finally, what should the fans expect for what is very rightfully the featured prelim of the event?
Expect a good fight. I mean, if anyone's ever seen any of my fights, I don't think there's ever been a boring one. There's never been one where I'm not out there, trying to hurt and finish the guy the whole 15 minutes. So just expect that, me to go out there and go at it until the bell rings or I finish him. But either way, you're going to know, who won when that final bell rings.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck in the fight.
Thank you.